The first time I saw the human ambassador, my visual receptors insisted on recalibration. 3 standard cycles of diplomatic training had not prepared me for what stepped through the ceremonial doors of the consortium's central chamber. Ambassador James Blackwell of Earth walked in, and Grizz, our ceremonial herald, announced him. Thousands of appendages rustled like an incoming storm. I leaned toward my colleague Vaz. "That's it? That's a fuss." Her 4 eyes blinked in quick succession, nervousness among the Trellic. "Don't be fooled," she hissed. "These humans conquered 3 hostile systems without firing a weapon." I scanned him, naked of carapace, no secondary limbs, no sensory tendrils, pink beige skin and dark fabric draped oddly over a humanoid frame. Vulnerable by our standards, tall for a human, cropped hair, blue eyes that seemed to drink the room. Captain Morox's filtration sighed. "Remember protocol under Secretary Trellick. They appear unimposing, but their reputation precedes them." Vaz shrugged her upper appendages. "Not luck," she said. "Strategy." Drexus insisted we accept the application. Supreme Counselor Drexus glided forward on his hover platform, ancient, faintly luminous, every translator humming. "Ambassador Blackwell," he intoned, voice thin with age, "we welcome Earth. Your application will be considered under ancient protocols. Trials begin at first light." Blackwell smiled, what humans call a smile, and thanked the council with plain, deliberate words: friendship, trade, mutual prosperity. Pretty words, I muttered. "Quiet," Vaz told me. "Watch how he moves." There was something off about his gait. He carried himself like a top predator, calm, focused, unafraid, despite being physically outclassed by everyone present. For 3 hours I watched him navigate our tangled hierarchies with a skill that felt surgical. He spoke briefly to the militant Craxians, posed thoughtful questions to the Eluxians, and even coaxed the humorless Xantharans into an approving click. "Beginner's luck," I told Vaz as we left. "Look at the Proxima sent you a transcript before you decide," she said. I should have listened. I arrived early the next morning for the first negotiations. Undersecretary to the Diplomatic Corps, my job was to record proceedings and flag allies or threats. The grand negotiation chamber glittered with crystal ceilings tuned to all known light spectra. Delegations sat around the vast circular table. Ambassador Blackwell was alone. No embassy team, only a small data tablet. "Where's his team?" I asked Captain Morox. "Humans send one negotiator to multiple delegations." Morox shrugged. "Standard procedure. Confidence or suicide. We would see." Drexus opened the session. The consortium had concerns about access to Mars rare minerals. Blackwell listened, nodded, then offered exclusive rights to 3 of the 17 elements, those most useful to consortium members. The Craxian general, Derg, slammed his gauntleted fist. 3 out of 17. Insulting. Blackwell's expression stayed neutral. "Precedents change after the 3rd Galactic Age," he said. "Older members grandfathered terms. New applicants face scarcity realities." Murmurs rippled. He knew the consortium's inequalities and used them to reframe the debate. "You don't actually need our Mars deposits," he added, if you already control stockpiles. He then proposed targeted access where real need existed, like the Aluxian shortage of neodymium crystals for medical research. Over the next 4 hours, he didn't argue. He asked sharp, targeted questions that forced each delegation to name their true needs, not their ritual demands. When the Xantharans demanded ocean territories, Blackwell asked why they needed them. They admitted the hunt was for rare biological compounds. He offered controlled harvesting instead of territorial control. By midday, the room had flipped. Instead of Earth defending against 27 demands, delegations competed to justify priority access to Earth's resources. During the meal break, I cornered Vaz. He hunted them. She chewed a protein cube thoughtfully. Humans evolved as pursuit predators. They may not be the strongest, but they outlast and outthink. She used harsher words, divide and conquer. I felt the chill of comprehension. The afternoon session exposed more of Blackwell's method. He quietly identified conflicts of interest and nudged them to the surface. When Quilarians and Tyso jointly sought communication tech, he pointed out their territorial dispute in the Sinise arm, public information, rarely mentioned in polite diplomacy. They argue with each other instead of pressing Earth. By late afternoon, Drexus, exhausted, called adjournment. Blackwell sat alone, taking notes. I introduced myself. You made it productive, I said. Your consortium has fascinating dynamics, he replied. You mean exploiting our divisions. I couldn't help the prick of offense. He smiled, the human smile again. I prefer clarifying needs. Everyone postures. My job is to find reality under the posturing. How did Earth learn this? I asked. Hard experience, he said. Before we left our planet, we had hundreds of nations, thousands of tongues, and centuries of factional politics. We learned negotiation the hard way, sometimes against our own species. I should have taken that as a warning. Alarms cut the conversation short. Perimeter breach, Captain Morox barked. Craxian insurgents were approaching the chamber. Drex's hover platform was damaged. Evacuation teams crawled toward the exits. Blackwell's face changed. The pleasant negotiator hardened. He moved not away from danger but toward it. I know a faster way, he said. I followed, along with Morox and 2 officers, down service corridors I never knew existed. How had he memoized the station's layout? We burst back into the central chamber. Drexus was trapped behind his shattered platform. 3 armed insurgents advanced. Chaos reigned. What happened next was almost cinematic and almost clinical. Blackwell assessed the attackers in a breath, then whispered instructions to Morox. He stepped into the open, unarmed, between the insurgents and the Supreme Counselor. Gentlemen, he called, voice carrying. I believe there's been a misunderstanding. The lead attacker, Craxian, bristling, swung a weapon. Stand aside, human. This isn't about Earth. It is, Blackwell replied, conversational. He named the brigade, the Craxian Third, that had lost 17 ships 3 years earlier in the Proxima incident. The attacker hesitated. How did the human know this? Blackwell said Earth's early warning tech would have prevented those losses. He added that Earth's proposal included retroactive benefits for casualties if membership passed. Kill the Supreme Counselor now and the compensation can't be ratified. Hesitation crept into the attackers' faces. In that moment, Morox's team disabled all three without firing a shot. After order returned, Blackwell helped Drexus from the wreckage. "Are you injured?" he asked. Drexus stared at him with all his milky eyes. "You saved my life." Blackwell shrugged. "I protected Earth's interests, which temporarily aligned with preserving your well-being." It was a calculated line, but in the seconds I watched his face, there was no calculation. There was instinct, immediate action. He had shifted from negotiator to protector in a blink. The Security Council convened an emergency session that night. He had classified information. Captain Morox fretted. How else did he know the Aluxian shortage or Craxian stockpiles? Vaz stood, calm. Those figures were in public reports and appropriations. He's good at pattern recognition. I felt that chill again. He wasn't breaking rules. He was better at using them. Defense negotiations the next day were even more revealing. Blackwell offered Earth's early warning system to the consortium under a simple, egalitarian condition: deploy to all members simultaneously. That condition nullified any single faction's chance to gain a military edge. Refuse, and you look like you're preserving inequality. By midday, delegates who had opposed Earth were pushing for expedited approval. I caught him at the refreshment station. "Your approach is educational," I said. He sipped water. "And yours," he replied. "What have you concluded?" "That humans are more dangerous than they appear." I expected offense. He laughed, a sound oddly pleasant. "Dangerous? Perhaps. But danger depends on intent. We learned to manipulate political systems because we needed to survive. You can't read a species if you don't understand its internal politics." Then the alarm screamed again. A dreadnought-class Craxian warship, the Relentless, had dropped out of hyperspace and demanded Blackwell be handed over. They claimed Earth had violated Craxian territory with illegal scans. The timing screamed diversion. Blackwell insisted on speaking with the Relentless commander. The screen lit the chamber with a scarred Craxian face. Commander Zorax. Zorax accused Earth of signature matches. Blackwell asked to see the sensor logs. He examined them and pointed out subtle irregularities, Earth-like signatures. Yes, but modulated incorrectly, Tysoid carrier frequencies underneath. He accused a third party of using Tysoid tech to impersonate Earth and spark conflict. At that point, Vaz flagged internal breaches in Section 17, unauthorized access to the data archives. Someone had used the external distraction to extract protected information. Blackwell murmured, "Clever." He traced motive and means, then laid out the obvious suspect. Someone who knew Craxian psychology and had access to signature profiles. All eyes turned to General Dirg. Accusation hung in the air like a blade. Dirg drew a device, a dead man switch keyed to biosignatures and explosives across the station. "Stay back," he warned. Blackwell picked up a glass of water and walked toward him, casual as a man crossing a room. "Talking makes me thirsty," he said. He approached, mentioned the device's Praxian design quirks aloud, enough to distract. Then, in one fluid motion, He threw the water into Dirg's face, touched a precise nerve point on the Craxian's arm, and disarmed the device. Security swarmed. Dirg's plan unraveled. 3 days later, the consortium voted to accept Earth unanimously. Dirg's betrayal had backfired, turning opposition into eager support. During the induction, Earth signed the ancient treaties and received the ceremonial key. A week earlier, most species dismissed humans as primitive. Now they requested human liaisons, cultural exchanges, and technical partnerships. The Craxians even proposed a cultural envoy program, unheard of in their history. After the ceremony, I found James on the observation deck, staring at the stars. "Congratulations," I said. "Earth is part of the galactic community." "Thank you," he replied. "Now the real work begins." "How so?" I asked. "Membership was easy," he said. "Integration would be hard. Trust does not bend overnight." He turned to me. "That's why I requested you as Earth's permanent liaison." "You? Why me?" My 6 eyes blinked rapidly. "Because you watched me without fear or favor," he said simply. "You questioned, you analyzed, and you stayed skeptical when everyone else rushed to praise. Earth doesn't need sycophants. We need honest brokers." He smiled, the genuine one this time, and added, "If you don't like what I tell you, tell me anyway. I'll need it." He walked back to the deck's edge, eyes on the glittering cosmos. I watched him and realized what had unsettled me from the start. Humans were predators, yes, but not one-note killers. They could be ruthless negotiators in the morning and life-saving protectors by noon. They hunted for understanding as much as dominance. That unpredictability, flexible, empathic, relentless, was their real advantage.